How you doing? This is Chris Wilson with Living the Dream Team, and I just have an interview today. I wanted to get out. I'm real excited. Got a good friend of mine known Chris Widger for probably 30 years, I'd say. Grew up together, played sports, went to school, and Chris has a very unique story, and we're real excited to welcome him onto our team. I think he's going to be a huge asset for many people, regardless if Chris is in your business or not. Really help with your belief system, your confidence about agile enterprises, about the route of network marketing. But just want to be a question and answer, real relaxed. If you can just briefly tell them your situation, ever since you left high school. What have you been doing?
After I left high school, I went to college. Went 3 years. I was lucky enough to get drafted to play baseball. Started with the Seattle Mariners, and it started out what I thought was going to be a short career for anybody from a small town. Ended up playing 15 years of professional baseball and 10 years in the big leagues. I retired in 2007, well, semi-retired. Nobody wanted me anymore, so came home to be with my kids. I ended up being a stay-at-home dad for the last 4 years. Since then, I've gone through a divorce, and now I'm looking to do something. And AJO is going to be what I need to be able to stay home and still spend time with my kids and still be able to coach Little League and still do all those things, but still be able to pay the bills in the house and still be able to do the things that we like to do and take a vacation in the summertime and that kind of stuff. And this is the kind of thing that's going to allow me to do that, to keep the lifestyle I have, to be able to do what I've always wanted to do, and that's come home and be with my kids and see them grow up and do those kind of things instead of having to go to work 8 to 10 hours a day and not be able to do the things with them that I've missed for 15 years.
Good. Going through from, I remember, going to George Mason, leaving high school and everything. When did it become, or was it always your dream to be a professional athlete or professional baseball player, or when did you start to realize, maybe that coming into fruition for you?
I know when I was 7 years old, my mom will tell everybody this, and she reminds me of the story. She said, when you were 7 years old, you promised me that you'd get me a red Corvette when I made the big leagues, because that's what I always wanted to do. I always pictured myself playing baseball. Why, I don't know. It wasn't even my best sport growing up, but it's what I always wanted to do. I always knew that it was a long shot, but for some reason, I always believed it was just going to happen. And even when I was into college and I started to get better, and I started to believe that I could play with some of those guys that had been playing pro ball. I still didn't know that it was ever really going to happen, but it was something that from as long as I can remember, since when I first met you, when we were probably 6 or 7 years old, that I always wanted to do, and I got the opportunity to do it, and now that it's over, I look back and can't believe it did happen.
So, there was a certain point where, that belief system had to kick in for you, where you could visualize, hey, I can do this, I can play with these people, and once you got that belief system, then you could progress. But even a lot when you're talking about in baseball, there's a lot of things that are out of your control. You don't know who's drafted in your organization, who they draft behind you, injuries, things like that. So I'm sure were there challenges that you had to go throughout the whole process, or was it just smooth sailing all the way?
Oh no, sure. When I was in the minor leagues, I remember Dan Wilson was the catcher in Seattle, and and I had gotten to AAA, which would be the time where you think you have a chance to make the big leagues, and Dan Wilson was only 25 years old. So I'm thinking, I'm never going to make it. I mean, Dan's a starter. The backup was only 28 years old, and he was a guy making $500,000 at the time. He ended up getting hurt when I happened to be playing well at the time, and that's when I got my first call up. I mean, it was just something that you couldn't envision. You didn't know what was going to happen. But then I thought I was going to be buried behind Dan Wilson for 10 years, and the next thing you know, our minor league director took the GM job in Montreal, and he brought me over. So that was my chance to start. So everything happens for a reason, but you never know what's going to happen. And I had to get my break. If I didn't get those breaks, if I didn't have somebody get hurt ahead of me, maybe I never would have had the opportunity to play. But you got to take advantage of the opportunities that you get.
I'm sure you have to have some type of thick skin. I mean, you can't let, when something doesn't go away, you can't, run into your little hole and boo-hoo and give up. So, I imagine throughout your career you had to develop some kind of thick skin to deal with those kind of adversities.
Well,
things you can't control.
When you get released, it's basically getting fired, and it happened to me 4 times. So, things like that happen. You're going to have people that are writing in newspapers from something as small as today's Sunbeam, which is in our town here, to the Seattle Times, the Washington Post, wherever you're playing. You make one bad play, and the next thing you know, you have 5 million people that are reading the newspaper saying that you stink, basically. So you have to let the stuff roll off. I mean, people are going to say bad things. People are going to tell you that you're not going to make it. People in this town said I would never make it. You know, I came from Pennsville. You know, nobody ever makes it from here. But you can't listen to what other people say. You have to go with what you believe in, and if you set your goals and you go about them, then you can't let these other people bring you down.
In our discussion, we're talking about you know, other professional athletes, and you know, into baseball, and you talk about, you know, a lot of them had businesses. You know, why they still have their career, because you know, when you look at TV, you look at, you know, a lot of the, you know, $15 million a year, $8 million a year, and how many people are on the roster of a baseball team?
The Major League roster is 25 each.
Okay, 25 each. So, you know, when you're talking about those big salaries, that's probably the smaller portion of that whole roster, because it takes a whole team to make up that roster. But a lot of people do have businesses within Major League Baseball. Why do you think that is?
Well, they need something for after baseball. I mean, if you look at the average lifespan for a Major League player, I think it's just over a year right now. Because for every guy that plays 10 or 15 years, you have that guy that might play 10 days or 15 days. You know, and as far as your pension, you can't start collecting that until later in life. And how much pension do you get? So these guys are looking at, hey, what if I blow out my arm tomorrow? What if something happens? So some of them are starting these baseball schools and these baseball academies. Other guys are getting into their own business, but most of them are starting them before they get out of baseball to prepare for something to do, because in reality, even if you play the game for 10 or 12 years, you're still only going to be in your mid to late 30s when you're done, and you need something to do.
Now, when you look at, the day we had breakfast, we talked about the traditional route, the non-traditional business route. What do you see as disadvantages of a traditional business route? I know, you know, you're talking about possibly doing baseball clinics, things like that. But what do you see as comparison when you look at the non-traditional business platform and the traditional business? Do you see any advantages, disadvantages either way?
Well, the traditional, I always thought, you know, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to be my own boss. I can set my own hours, and I'll still be able to do things with my kids and all. And I've been looking at it for the last 3 years. And the reason I haven't started it yet is because I haven't figured out a way where I can still do the things with my kids. You know, everybody I talk to, when you first start your own business, you got to put 12, 13 hours a day in because you have to get it started. And you're not going to have that many employees because your overhead costs will be too much. You got to find a facility that I could go do to put my business in, and then after you do that, you got to pay the taxes on it. You got to pay all your bills. You have to bring in the kids that you need. For me, having the baseball academy, and I don't know how to run a business like that. I mean, I really don't. I wouldn't know about how to go about doing the books. I wouldn't know about any of that stuff. So I've been going back and forth. Do I do it? Do I not do it? And the bottom line is I've chickened out, because I'm thinking if I do that, it takes all my afternoon and evening time away from when I coach Little League, and from when I go watch my daughter dance, and from running them from place to place, and that's where I've been stuck, kind of going back and forth for, you know, almost 3 years now.
Okay, good. You know, we have some goals that we want to build with business. What I really like is, you know, you have, you know, different people that may have been professional athletes and they endorse certain companies, but you know, I think I'm real excited about your physically. We're going to build a business. This doesn't, you know, Chris Widger endorses Agile or likes the products. I mean, this is, you know, we're going to build a lifestyle. We want to keep your lifestyle, which means we're going to build a business and we're going to develop income. But when we look at the Agile concept itself, what really attracted you to the Agile or the product line, I guess?
Well, first of all, I mean, being an athlete and seeing so many different companies come in with these different nutritional bars and these different vitamins and these different, you know, everybody wants to take care of their body better now. You want to find different ways, easier ways, things that work for you. And the more I looked into it, the more I figured that this is something I use every day anyway. I mean, this is something that's easy to take. It's not taking a pill. It's things that take care of my body for the rest of my life. So you combine that with being able to build my own business, something that works, something that I use every day, something that most of my friends use every day. It just makes sense.